time to talk some baseball here with our next guest, and very pleased to have him on, a former Major League Baseball player, most notably with the Minnesota Twins, and of course a Canadian as well. You can follow him on twitter.com/CKONE47. It is Corey Koskie. Hey, Corey, how proud were you to be a Canadian getting into baseball? We see a lot more now, but certainly when you broke in, it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, there wasn't many, and so it was a little bit of a difficult road. My dream growing up was to play hockey. Obviously, my best sport was volleyball. We had Manitoba when I played. Manitoba and Quebec were the volleyball powerhouses. So we'd play them all the time in the national finals for our national tournaments and stuff like that. So I had a lot of interactions playing against Quebec in volleyball. But now you see more and more Canadians playing in the major leagues, and just the evolution of the game.
You were elected to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. I've had a chance to go down to St. Mary's, Ontario for a couple of those ceremonies and to cover them as well. What did that mean to you?
Well, it was just an awesome experience, especially being inducted in the same year as Philippe Alou, and hearing his stories of what it was like when he first broke in. There's a guy who's been in baseball for over 60 years. And then with spending time with Carlos Delgado and his family, and kind of hearing some of his stories about his days with the Blue Jays, and then Matt Stairs, and then Bob Elliott. Bob Elliott's been around baseball forever. I think he might have been around baseball longer than Philippe Alou. And so just hearing the stories back, when they were with the Expos and stuff like this. So just to be around and hearing this baseball history, and just how baseball has evolved over time. But there's just really cool hearing the history of the game of baseball back when Felipe played, and kind of hearing him and his playing with his brothers, the first, Alou outfielders.
Yeah. And
so it was an honor to be a part of that. But the one thing that, my biggest takeaway, as I look at all the people, they get immortalized kind of in the Hall of Fame, whether it's Cooperstown or St. Mary's for the Canadian. You just think about all the people that had to spend a lot of time to help these guys get to play the game of baseball. So it was rather humbling to just think about all the guys, all the coaches I had, all the volunteers, and all the people who put in all this time and effort to give people the opportunity to play. Then you take it to the next step, and just if, for example, the major leagues, all the dynamics that happen with the front office, the business side, and the fans. There's just so much that goes into giving me an opportunity to play, and it's just one of those things that's just rather humbling that I'm the guy who gets immortalized and kind of put into the Hall of Fame, and there's probably thousands of people that have done Hall of Fame things to allow me to give me the chance to play a game of baseball.
Chatting with Corey Koskie, a former Major League Baseball player. You growing up in kind of the middle of the country, did you root for the Jays, the Expos? Were you a baseball fan? You mentioned, I know you were a big hockey guy, but did you follow any team?
Well, I was a Jays guy because the Expos, the only channel they were on when I was growing up was Channel 3, and it was the French station.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't, there wasn't too many English games. So I wasn't as bilingual as I would have liked to be. So I watched a lot of Jays, and they were on CTV, and so I watched a lot of Jays games. So back in the day, with Tony Fernandez, Joe Carter, Robbie Alomar, these guys, and watching that World Series, that was Blue Jays became the Canada's team, the year they won the World Series. And what was it? Was it 94, the strike year, where the Expos had Pedro Martinez, Randy Johnson, Rondo White. That's the year that team was unbelievable, and it was it happened. It was a strike year, and that would have been something special if they could have. If the MLB didn't go on strike, that would have been especially as I believe that they probably would have won the World Series that year, and baseball would still be in Montreal.
Yeah, with the team gone, not having been here since 2004, you were still an active player at that point. You weren't a huge Expo fan growing up, but as a Canadian, was it disappointing to see that?
Well, yeah. Obviously, when you lose a team out of Canada. It is very disappointing. I actually played in Montreal. I love Montreal. That was, I have a couple of favorite cities in the big leagues to go to play at, and Chicago was one of them. Montreal was another one of them. I loved Montreal. I loved coming into Montreal. Playing wasn't great because he played at old stadium. I liked playing there because Montreal didn't have that good of a pitching staff. So I hit pretty well. But just the food, the experience, I was a big fan of going into Montreal.
Now, with the Twins, you had a teammate who's still active at this point and kind of going through a farewell year, but it doesn't seem like it should be a farewell year. Talk to me about, did you see greatness in David Ortiz back then?
Yeah, he was, we call, now he's Big Poppy, but to us he was Big O. So it's funny, the evolution of David Ortiz. When Dave first came to us in the minor leagues, when I first played with him in the minor leagues, he was David Arias. And then he had a couple years, and all of a sudden he became David Ortiz. And then he played in the big leagues with us, and he was Big O. And then he goes to Boston, he becomes Big Poppy. And so there's kind of that evolution, but that dude can hit. It was flat out, he can hit. And I remember I was at his wedding, and he was, the writing was on the wall, and he was he had a few drinks, and he's crying, and he's like, because he knows that this is probably the last time he's going to see all of us as a teammate. And I was like, I told him, I said, Davey, this is the best thing that's going to happen to you. You're going to land on your feet, and you're just going to, your wings are going to expand, and you're going to do something pretty special in this game of baseball. And as we all saw, he has done something pretty special in the game of baseball.
It's hard to fathom a guy saying it's going to be his last year, and he's put up the numbers that he's put up. It's just not seen in professional sports. I mean, he hit a ninth-inning home run yesterday to put the Red Sox up before they gave up the lead. So, I can't remember it in baseball where a guy hits .330 and, he's got 14 home runs already. But I guess... and Pedro Martinez once spoke to me about this, that it just takes an incredible amount of preparations as you get older to I guess, get your body ready to play the entire full year of a grind. You unfortunately had your career cut short, but that I'm sure is a tough factor for aging players. Yeah.
Davey being from Dominican, he might be, you never know with the birth certificate stuff there, but I think he might be a legitimate 40 or 41 or whatever they say, and whatever he says he is. But he's a big dude, and that's a lot of weight to be on his bouncing around those knees and kind of doing stuff. But he's always prepared. He's a professional hitter, prepares for the game of baseball, and I think as you get to a point where you're just like, I'm done. He's played the game a long time, and and Big O lives for this scene, as you saw in the World Series, the stuff that he's done at a World Series. There's not too many guys that have done. Well, I don't think anybody's done what he's done at a World Series.
Yep.
He had, what was he, like 680 that one?
It was crazy. Yep. 2013 World Series, sure.
Yeah, and so he lived. There's certain players that live for this spotlight, for a platform. Sammy Sosa was another guy who just loved the spotlight. He goes, I know when spotlight's on me, I love it because I know I can do it. And David has kind of evolved into that type of player. And he loves it, and you're just seeing it with all the attention he's getting. It's kind of feeding him. It's kind of feeding, feed the beast, and he's getting fed with all this attention he's getting, and he's just doing something pretty special.
Just wrapping up with Corey Koskie, former Major League Baseball player. Corey, you also played for your country, even after not having played Major League Baseball. What was that like to represent Canada in the World Baseball Classic?
Oh, that was awesome. That was something. One of my goals for when I was 18, 19 years old, I always wanted to play for Team Canada for hockey. And that was the year of the Olympics. I remember watching Sean Burke, facing 65 shots from the Russians, and it just was. And it wasn't Olympic; it was kind of a World Cup event. And it was just, my dream was to put on a Canadian hockey uniform. And then when I got my opportunity the first time play for Team Canada at the World Baseball Classic, and when I was in Arizona, that was something special. The second time was a little more difficult because I bounced back, and I thought I'd have an opportunity to play, and it just, for whatever promises they made to other organizations, I couldn't get in the lineup, couldn't play, so it was a little bit frustrating because I thought I could help them compete. Especially we're playing in Toronto, we're playing in Sky Dome, we play against the Americans. There's 44,000 people up, and I didn't play the first game. We lost the first game, and then the second game we had an opportunity that I felt that I had an opportunity to pinch hit with runners and bases loaded, 1 out against Peavy. And they threw, they let this kid from, Double A, have that at bat. And I thought that this was an opportunity that was my opportunity. And we were down by 1, and I was ready to go. I was ready to hit, and didn't get the call. And it was kind of frustrating for me because I was the only guy in that second World Baseball Classic that didn't touch the field. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. And then I went from there and played for the Cubs, and that's when I kind of decided to call it quits because I just didn't have that. There's a certain thing, there's a certain fight, a certain kind of mojo that you have, and I just didn't have that fire in my belly. It was kind of, it was just disappointing. You just felt it kind of winding down, and I was like, maybe it's time to turn the page and spend some time with my family.